Hey guys, it's Rob Dimension with another week of Dimension Chat. Today we are going to talk about the horror genre. I had a good friend of mine, Steve Carino, who was in No Clowning Around, one of my films, write 5 questions. And, he's known for his wrestling, but this guy has really got my back, and he takes his time when he writes his questions. So, let's get to the first question. The horror genre is a specific style of movie that has a niche product. An independent horror genre has an even more specific style of niche. To the horror fan that does not know what an independent is or has a preconceived notion of what an independent film is, how do you sell them on giving it a try? That is a great question. I've actually had this question asked me a couple times. How do you really get people over the hump to make the decision to try an independent film? First of all, I'm not a fan of independent film, the title, more or less. I think that we are freelance. We are, I myself am a filmmaker. Independent can have several different meanings. It can have by oneself, which I'm not clearly, because we crowdfund, we get money, and it's a group effort. We have a cast, we have a crew, we have everybody involved. It could also mean that we aren't studio backed, which is perfectly fine. For me, when I look at it, I hate to think that the word independent is almost subpar, because I don't think that's really the right way. It's like anything. You go to a restaurant, there's independent restaurants, I guess you could say, considered the opposite of, a food chain. And there's some food that's subpar and there's some food that's great. It's like that in movie making, in filmmaking. It's based on you on the sell. If you're passionate about what you do and you are standing in front of someone and they can see that passion, there's a really good chance, if you're a good salesman, that you're going to let them try. They're going to try your film. They're going to give it a shot. I think what you have to do is you have to be professional. You have to care about what you do. If you're just churning out product and you know it's crap, I don't know how I would go about selling that. I'm not going to say that I'm the greatest filmmaker ever, because I'm not. It's a learning process. It's something I take very, very serious. A lot of it I wear personally on my sleeve because the stories are very true to me and genuine. That's why it takes me like a year to put out a short film, because I do care about the script. I do put a lot of effort into it. I put a lot of effort into promoting. I put a lot of effort into doing conventions and making sure I have the right cast, making sure we have the right crew, and filming. And for instance, Rabbit Hole, we're filming right now. It's a 20-minute movie, and we're filming for 6 days because we want to make sure that we get enough coverage. We want to make sure that we're not rushing. And sometimes there's people that are out there that are making features in 6 days, and for a budget of $3,000 or $4,000. Do I think anything's wrong with that? I don't think anything's wrong with that if that's what you want to make. That's just not what I want to make. Everyone's different, But I think that for me, my best sell point would be, I think just all on, if you're talking to me about it, for No Clowning Around, it was, that this was the story where I was myself, I was depressed, and I wrote this out of depression. And the story, in essence, is full of metaphors, and it really relates to me, the person. Baggage was more something that I wanted to do that would pay homage to an Alfred Hitchcock era of the 60s and 50s and Twilight Zone and stuff like that. And for me, it was making my second movie better than my first, or have a different feel, or show that I'm growing. I never want to go backwards. I always want to go forward. So, that's a great question, but I think it's up to each individual on how they sell their film. I might have a different perspective than somebody else that's been doing it longer or whatever. I really care about filmmaking, so especially my own film. So I take it serious. All right, question number 2. Every filmmaker has their own unique style, even if it's based off a filmmaker of the past. What would you say your style is? Well, I think it depends on what I'm watching at the time. Right now, I'm kind of on a David Lynch kind of kick. I think that when we were shooting Baggage, I was on a very clean, cinematography wise, direct, specific direction. When we filmed No Clowning Around, I was looking for more of a grindhouse 70s style. This time around, I've learned more. I know more. I have Mike O'Mahony involved, who is co-directing and is really doing awesome with cinematography. We, worked on shots together this past weekend. I think that it's a variety. I go for a certain look and a feel. I even I used House of the Devil as some inspiration for this one. I'm a big Ty West fan. Some of his long shots and some of the wide shots that he uses and some of the real slow pans and how he builds suspense without, anything besides just simple slow build from camera movement. But David Lynch has very unique style also where he's, obscure and he's not afraid to take and stay in a scene a certain amount of time. And, I just think it's like a study. It's like, what do you feel like this time? Well, for me, for Rabbit Hole, I feel I want this to be, an entry into the midnight movies of the old days where people would go to the movies at midnight and watch these really whacked out movies. And that's kind of, I think, the path that I'm on for this one. So where does your idea for a horror story come from? Depression, recession, or creativity? Well, I think that the story comes from... Jeez, this is a tough one, Steve. I think it's more what I feel on the inside. I think that's the best way to explain it. Something may move me that I'm watching and I might feel like, oh man, what if this happened? Or what if the scenario was different? Or, I'm not afraid to say, I take pieces from everywhere. I think they say that there's only 1 or 6 original ideas that are out there and everything else is just, a take on that.
Everything else is just a copy off of what's already done.
Yeah. And for me, I want to make, in all honesty, I make what I want to see. I do it for me. I think that in order to be successful, you need to make the movies that you want to see. If you make movies for everyone else, you're always going to be struggling because you're going to realize that no one's ever happy. If you can be happy, I think that's the key to success. And I think success is defined in different ways. For me, success is, hey, I just made an awesome movie and I'm happy with it. And when I get people that respond and say how great it is or how good it is, I'm flattered. That there's nothing better than that. I want to just make a little ripple on such a big pond within our genre. And that's all I really want. I'm just such a fan. I mean, that's really what it boils down to is I'm a fan first and a movie maker, a filmmaker second, and a creator and, writer and all that other stuff after that. I love the genre. So hopefully that answered that question a little bit. Now here we go. Here's something that's kind of along those lines. If you die today, your filmmaking legacy revolves around No Clowning Around Baggage and now the upcoming Rabbit Hole. Are you happy with what you accomplished? Absolutely. I can't go back and say I wish I made more movies. Are there problems? I'm never going to be satisfied with what I make. I'm always going to see flaws in what I make. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with the legacy or whatever, excuse me, that I've created. So I'm happy. I'm proud of it. The last question is, you have no restrictions on budget, but you can only use one Hollywood A-lister. Do you already have an idea of who it would be and what role he or she would play? Or could Brad Pitt play a Benjamin type in a baggage feature? If I had no restriction on budget, I think I would want to put together, while he says in a Hollywood A-lister, I know several people that work behind the scenes that I would hire to do cinematography and sound. And I would, really make sure that I have the best story. I could totally see Brad Pitt playing a character that I played. Absolutely, of course. I don't have an idea for anything because, sadly, I've never come across the idea where budget's not an issue. So it'd be great if it wasn't, but it typically is, especially for the short films. For the short films that I generally would work towards. My budget is between $4,000 to $6,000. So I kind of figure out in my head what I need and what, what course of action that we need to go along for that. But I would love to be able to have someone come to me and say, oh, we love your movies. Here's no budget. You can use whatever here's, no limit on budget. You can use whatever you need and make whatever you want to make. But I think that we get into a mindset of where we're trying to make what we can make for a limited amount of money. But then, you're sacrificing. So in essence, you have no limit on budget. You're no longer sacrificing. So I don't know if I mean, it would be great, to be able to turn around and say, oh, I spent $200 million on this movie, but then you have to live with the fact that, is it going to make money? So when you make a movie for $3,000 to $6,000, there's a good chance you're going to, at least break even, you hope. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this week. Thank you to Steve Carino for writing such good questions. You can follow him at King Carino. You can follow me at Rob Dimension on Twitter. You can look for me on Facebook. You can look for these on YouTube at youtube.com/You've Been Rob Films.
Yeah.
All right. Or you can go to RebornRobFilms.com. You can go to RobDimension.com. And don't forget, hit me up with your questions and listen to our episodes of the Rob Dimension Shock and Wrestling podcast. It's about horror and wrestling and everything else in between. We will see you next week.